Hi guys, Trevor Swenson with Through the Darkness. My personal journey with PTSD and trauma and stressor-related disorder in hopes of informing and encouraging and giving people hope in their walk through either unsolved, unresolved trauma or trauma and stressor-related disorders. Today I wanted to talk about an interesting topic that I learned about. I think that most of us have in our lifetime heard about Pavlov's dogs and the studies that he did with dogs, with the ringing of the bell and the salivating of the salivary glands when they would hear the bell and expect food to come. But there's a story about Pavlov's dogs that wasn't known to me, and it's quite interesting as it ties into trauma and people. And as the story goes, while he was doing his experiments, his laboratory was close to a major river, and the river flooded, and it flooded his laboratory. And unfortunately, the dogs were trapped in their kennels as the waters rose in the laboratory, and they ended up surviving, yet were trapped in a cage as the floodwaters rose. And it was interesting as Pavlov did studies on these dogs afterwards that he found that these dogs were overcome with being trapped and having the inability to do anything about it, which when you think of our trauma that we have walked through in life, whether it be from the abuse of a person or an accident or a tragedy or a sickness or an illness or a terrible relationship, a terrible marriage, whatever it happens to be that we developed a trauma-related disorder from, what it comes down to is that we at some point or another were overcome with inescapable terror. We were trapped. There was nothing we could do to get out of the situation, out of fear or physical barriers or psychological barriers or relational barriers, whatever it might be. And the interesting thing about these dogs is that as Pavlov studied these dogs, hey Murphy, you're not being too cooperative here this morning. As Pavlov studied these dogs after this immobilization and this terror that they experienced of having the floodwaters rise and being trapped in their kennel, he noticed that the dogs had one of three reactions. And those three reactions are eerily similar to the way that humans react to inescapable terror or trauma as well. One group of dogs became very, very overly aggressive towards everything and anything, any type of stimulus. A second group of dogs became very, very timid and very, very subdued and very, very jumpy, if you will, in a timid fashion. And the third group of dogs just completely numbed out. Completely, no stimulus affected them, no anything affected them. They just became completely numb. And if you think back to the talks that I've had about the human brain, on how you've got the reptilian brain, the limbic system, and then on top of that the neocortex. Obviously dogs are missing the neocortex, and Pavlov's dogs really give, in this unfortunate situation, insight into what happens when we are trapped in inescapable trauma, whether it be relationally or physically or medically or whatever the situation might be. The reptilian brain, the base of the brain, gives us really one of three options: become incredibly aggressive, fight, become incredibly flighty, okay, flight, or freeze, become completely numb, to we just completely shut down. And it's interesting, as I listened to this lecture and as I read the book, and I told you I'm reading the book The Body Keeps the Score, as I thought about those dogs, and as I've thought about the reactions that I've had in my PTSD, I've talked very, very openly with those closest to me about a complete lack of numbness. And as I've talked in episodes prior, standing on the gas, standing on the brake, you get a net return of 0. It's a complete loss of self. It's a complete loss of ups and downs. It's a complete loss of passion. And that is where the healing needs to take place. And it's really good to know that they have also determined, not only have they been able to predict how humans will relate to immobilization or being entrapped, which is the terrorizing part of trauma, is you are trapped. You want to take action, you know action needs to be taken, but for whatever reason you can't escape it. What they've learned, thank the good Lord above, is that the brain, the human brain, has something that's called neuroplasticity, which is it's able to heal itself. And unfortunately, healing from PTSD, as I have found out, is a very long journey, and it's a painful journey. But it's a journey that I know that there will be hope and healing at the end of it for me, and I believe that also for you. But I just wanted to talk about Pavlov's other dogs and their reaction to being trapped and immobilized in the face of something traumatic or terrorizing that they were not able to do anything about. And that is aggression, and that is being very, very touchy or highly aroused or very easily startled. And the third group is completely numb, just not there, just dead on the inside. And maybe it'll help you to understand the inescapable part of whatever trauma it is that you experienced and how traumatic that is. The trauma is in the immobilization, the inability to act accordingly. That's what makes trauma so intrusive. I hope today gave a little bit of insight into the science behind trauma. It sure has helped me being able to study. I hope you click and subscribe. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week, and I can't wait to speak with you real soon on another topic. Thanks for being with me. This is Trevor Swenson with PTSD Through the Darkness.